Well, it's a lovely July summer's day, and I actually replaced the headliner in the 850 after Cars and Coffee this morning, but I just went and switched back for this car because I still have to do the wheel speed sensor to try to get the DSC working, so I can sell the car for a little bit, more money. I have the sensor now. Picked that up with Blunt Tech, which is actually a company that's local here. I highly recommend them if you guys are looking for new BMW parts. BLUNTTECH.com. They can get original and aftermarket stuff for pretty much anything, so give Steve a ring if you need that stuff. They don't pay me to say it, they're just good guys. So this is going to go in there, and then also this is actually my dad's car. This is a 1997 Mercedes SL 600. First year of the 5-speed auto, second year of the better fuel injection system and coil on plug ignition. But this thing has 104,000 miles on it. I started it to get his bike down for him, and it's running a little rough. So I went and got a whole mess of NGK single platinums for it. They finally had them in stock. I'm going to do plugs on it, because as far as I can tell in the service history, this car has never had them done. And platinum plugs at 105,000 miles is a little bit much. So I'll probably start with that car, but I'll show you this too, because why not? We're here anyway. So, wheel speed sensor right back here. It's got a single 4mm Allen on it. It might be a 5, I can't remember. But this gray plug, or blue if your car is post 5 2002, actually goes deep in there. You can see the chassis side. There's an arrow piece on the M3s that isn't there on like a 330 or something like that. So, whew. At this point, I'm just going to take that one Allen bolt out and then wiggle the sensor back and forth until I can pull it out here. And we'll get that one in. You guys might notice that this looks new. It actually is, but it's one of those Chinese knockoff sensors. They usually don't work, so I wouldn't recommend buying those. I may still have an issue further up in the car. I just wanted to try this first and see if that's my problem. Well, there's the China sensor I took out next to the Delphi I'm about to put in. They look pretty much identical, but you just never know. So first things first, pop that in your hub, bolt it in, then run your wires through these connectors here by your brake pad wear sensors, and then just push them down to clip them, and push away to release. Really well designed connector. I like those. And that is that. Time to put the wheel on it, cycle the battery, and see if that solved our problem. So I actually ended up finding 4 broken wires, and although I'm going to make this much prettier and use butt connectors and heat shrink, I want to make sure that that actually fixes my problem. So I reconnected 4 broken wires and I vacuumed out a ton. You can see how much the foam has been eaten away here. A ton of mouse nest. Because again, this car was sitting in a field for like 2 years before I bought it. So I'm gonna move everything out of the way so I can move it forward and backward just a couple of feet. Oops. And to reset the brake sensor, turn your ignition key to position 2, I believe, for 10 seconds. I think maybe 20. There it goes. Well, fuel lights are off. Not sure why the DSC light is still on. fixed a lot of lights either way. Happy about that. Well, all bolted back together for now. I think it's gonna have to go for more in-depth code reset, unfortunately. But I'll drive it around, and looks like at least the TPMS system is working now. I don't have a brake warning. Every light I can get off the off this car, the better. So definitely made progress. It wasn't too bad for spending 10 minutes just pulling it apart and checking. I had a suspicion it was a chewed through wire, but never actually took the time until now to rip it apart and see what was what. So there we go. Next up, this thing. So here's my advanced contraption for getting these things out. It's not just a straight down piece. The ignition coil shows you pretty well what you're dealing with. So that's sitting flush on the top of the engine, goes down about 3 inches, then takes a 45, then goes down another 6 inches. So running about 6 inches of extension, and then a U-joint, and then up to my ratchet. So in order to get the coils out of here, I'll start with this one, because it's the trickiest one. You don't want to break this plastic piece. What you do is you push down on the front with your thumb here, and then you push toward the passenger side with your pointer finger. And you actually have to do that for both of the metal pieces. So you're pushing those this way while pushing this down, and then that'll snap underneath this groove, and you can push it up out of the way. Once you've done that, one electrical connector on the top, push down with your thumb on the top, pull the plug off, and then with a little bit of wiggle jiggling, your coil will come out. And at that point, all you got to do is fish your contraption down there, set it to loosen the plug, and then once it's loose, get your stick magnet, and then we'll pull the plug out. So I've got my stick magnet here. Pop down. And hopefully you've got a steel-tipped spark plug. I have an aluminum-tipped plug somehow. Just stupid. This little screw top on this Bosch plug is not ferrous, so I had to grab it further down. And these definitely look pretty roasted. I don't know if I'd say these are original to the car. These have probably been done once before, but for a platinum plug, that's clearly pretty perished. So good thing we're changing them out. Okay, so I'm actually seeing that this had copper core plugs in it. Didn't even realize that at first. These are the best performance plug you can use until they've reached their effective life, which is really short. These work really well for a long time, and then iridiums on top of this is the platinum. Iridiums last a really long time pretty well. So you kind of have to compromise and like, do you want to set it and forget it, then go with iridium. If you want to be good to your car, but also not really maintenance it that often, go with the platinum. If you want the best performance and bang for the buck, but you don't really care about changing them often, do the copper core. So if you have easy access to the plugs, I'd stick with coppers usually. Otherwise, platinum's my plug of choice. Iridiums are really expensive and really not worth it for the most part, unless you, again, are doing 100,000 highway miles at a time. So next step will just be carefully putting this in the tube and dropping it down. Get it as far down with your finger as you can, and then drop it down in there. And then once it's down in, you can, sorry, it's really hard to hold the camera and do all this at the same time. You can hand tighten it. Just get it snug, like that, and then we'll go through at the end and do our quarter turn on it. But kind of rinse and repeat for all 11 others, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the torque sequence on one as well, and then also how to put the coil holder back down on this engine. So all of our old plugs are out. New plugs are in and hand threaded. Now, go ahead and snap the ratchet in there. And we're gonna do 1/4 turn. And another 1/4 turn. Yep. Just double checking it. That's nice and snug. So 2 1/4 turns or until it feels snug. And then go ahead and stop. Go to the next plug. Once you've got them all torqued down, nice and snug, we'll start throwing the coils back in. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, now that everything's in, we're gonna put coils back in. So step 1 for me is just get this electrical connector out of the way. Make sure it doesn't fall down, because if you set the coil in there, you're really not gonna want to have to, or you're not gonna want to deal with getting it out of the way. So just go ahead and set it in and give it one good tap down. Once you've done that, carefully bring this metal clasp back over, and there's 2 little teeth you have to bring it under. Once you do that, push it down and then push it in at the same time, and it is snapped in. At this point, all you gotta do, plug that back in and do it another 11 times. The joys of V12 ownership. But once you've done that, truthfully, you're done. So I don't know what that job costs at a dealer, but if you have even reasonable mechanical inclination, you should probably do it yourself, because this is about as easy as spark plugs get. All done. Just one thing left to do, and that is hot cold started. That's a thing, right? Why not? Oh, it feels so much happier now. Wow. It had a little judder before, which is not normal for a V12. Sounds good. Thanks for watching.